Hello and welcome to this round 9 here at the World Championship. I'm Tim Willoughby, joined by Matej Zadelkai. Rush down from the top area. We've been able to see the whole action here at the World Championship in Seattle. But there's more action to come. We are hit thick in the draft rounds. Let's head down and see the players that we have here for round 9 here at the World Championship. Hello and welcome to this round 9 here at the World Championship at PAX in Seattle. And, well, we're starting to see a little bit of daylight at the top of the standings. We are going to have our feature match now with our Draft Master, who has yet to lose in draft in this tournament. We have Márcio Carvalho there. He has been just an absolute force to be reckoned with in draft in this format, and we saw just an epic match for him last round. Slightly different opponent for him this next round though, because on the other side of the table there is Lukas Blohon. He won the very last Pro Tour, and with a black-white deck he's got a very different set of weapons to work with here.
Yeah, if there's one player that can take Márcio down, it's the latest Pro Tour winner and currently number 3 ranked player in the world, Lukas Blohon. Tim, you have no idea how excited I'm to be here, because the last match of Márcio against BBD was so exciting that I wish I was in the booth for that one. But I'll get to watch Márcio again. Playing against Lukas, out of all players, just fantastic.
We can already see Ulrich of the Krallen Horde in hand for Carvalho, but for now he's a blue-green deck and just having to look on as Lukas Blohon starts things off with the Graft Rats, follows up with a Tooth Collector, and Graft Rats has a very real chance of melding in this matchup because we do have Midnight Scavengers in deck for Lukas Blohon.
Yeah, 2 of them as well, and double Graft Rats. So I think in this match it might actually be a very valid game plan for Lukas Blohon just to try to meld that and go for the win, because the menace that the melding gives to all your creatures is just great against Márcio's deck.
Yeah, we see him picking up a Primal Druid off a grapple with the pass there. Márcio Carvalho, he's really going to appreciate having that Primal Druid, if as much as anything, just as a way of fixing up his mana at some point. For now, casting an Ingenious Scab, getting just a really solid blue creature on the board.
Yeah, but there's one of the 2 boons of Emrakul from Lukas Blohon, taking care of that Ingenious Scab, swinging for 5, not having a 4th land. I'll have to say that Lukas Blohon did mulligan to 6 cards this game.
Quilled Wolf and that Primal Druid there coming along from Márcio Carvalho finally gets some creatures to stick on the board, he hopes, because at the moment Lukas Blohon very much in the driver's seat. Carvalho already on just 13 life here.
I think Lukas was really missing the 4th land here. He has a Spectral Reserves in his hand as well as an Inspiring Captain, so I think he'll just be able to drop a Desperate Sentry here with nowhere near being close to Delirium, which would be fantastic with not only the Sentry but also the Tooth Collector he has in play already.
Yeah, Tooth Collector able to chip away, but for now Lukas just content to fill up his board just a little bit more. There's a Desperate Sentry. 1-2 naturally. If he gets Delirium, well, it gets spectacular, and even when it dies, he's getting a 3-2 Eldrazi Horror token. Reckless Scholar on the other side of the board there for Carvalho. Both these players just rocketing through their turns.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing out their cards at a fast pace, but Márcio is knowing exactly what he's doing. He's still keeping on Confront the Unknown for any shenanigans from Lukas, who did draw his 4th land, so he'll be able to play the Spectral Reserves here, which is fantastic. Not only gets 2 1/1s on the board, flyers at that, gains 2 life, but also adds a sorcerer to his graveyard, so he's even closer to Delirium now than he was before.
Now, how valuable are cards like Boon of Emrakul in terms of getting to Delirium, the enchantments that naturally just put themselves into the graveyard?
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I have the deck list in front of me, and actually Lukas is running double Terrarion with no splashing of any kind or no big problems with his mana, but just as a Delirium card.
Yeah, the Terrarion, of course, you can sacrifice it, fix your mana, draw a card, but artifacts in the graveyard for him, very valuable indeed.
But now starts the problematic part for Lukas. A Reckless Scholar getting activated turn after turn can really jumpstart a player. And here's the Soul Swallower that with a Reckless Scholar makes it that much easier to get to Delirium for Márcio.
Yeah, Márcio's deck, not exactly one that is working super hard to get to Delirium, though it can get there, and when it does, that Soul Swallower, well, it starts off as a 3/3 trampler. Every single upkeep of Márcio's, it will get just that little bit bigger, and it doesn't take too many turns for it to be a game-ending threat.
Yeah, and with that Reckless Scholar, if you look at his graveyard, he already has an instant, land, and creature, so he's only one card type away from that Delirium. And I like how this has been a theme for overall for this game.
Inspiring Captain there coming down, meaning that those spirits get stuck in. Márcio Carvalho, he's on single digits now, just the 9 life to work with. And I'm guessing that Lukas is going to want to end this game fairly fast because the threat of that Soul Swallower getting all the way up to a substantial size, fairly big when Reckless Scholar can enable Delirium pretty much any time.
The one problem for Márcio is that he's not getting close to Delirium. I look at his hand and it's only creatures, instants, and a land, and that's all the card types he already has in his graveyard as well. So he's one card type off of Delirium still, and will be, as he discards a backward Survivalist. So that Soul Swallower cannot get into the red zone just yet. And Márcio having to be a little defensive here, but he'll get to have a very nice play. So he gets to play the Mockery of Nature, sacrificing the Primal Druid, gets his Mountain, and we know that he has Ulrich of the Krallen Horde in his hand, so he'll be able to play the next turn and really start putting pressure on Lukas, who is swinging with his 1/1s.
Now, Lukas will have seen Márcio's deck list before this game started. How much do you think that will have influenced his desire to attack into Primal Druid, knowing that there's the potential for Ulrich of the Krallen Horde?
Well, not much. Now you can see there was a Midnight Scavenger that was played, getting the Cheering Host, which when it comes into play, other creatures you can control get +1/+1 and gain menace. Means the flyers are a 4 power altogether, and the other creatures are just very hard to block. And that's it, as we had predicted.
I love it. It's not very often that you see Meldon in Limited. There are only a few Meld creatures, but you know what? Very powerful stuff. We're going to have more magic for you soon enough, right after these messages.
Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
Optimism, innovation, and the spirit of creativity fill these pages, lavishly illustrated with the award-winning art of Magic the Gathering. Welcome to Kaladesh, a vibrant, beautiful plane where anything is possible. Join the heroic planeswalkers of the Gatewatch as they explore the Inventor's Fair, and let your imagination soar alongside thopters and airships crafted by the best artificers in the multiverse.
Hello and welcome back to this 9th round here at the World Championship, and we're going to get a chance to look in on another big match that's going on. We saw Brian Braun-Duin in the feature match area last round against Márcio Carvalho. This round he's got to play against the world champion Seth Manfield, and we can see here that Seth's had a pretty solid start in spite of the fact that Braun-Duin has more creatures on the board, just 11 life to work with. He's got to be a little bit concerned about the aggressive red-white deck.
Oh yeah, but this game he looks to be in decent shape. Looks to have stabilized at 11 life, even though Seth has that neck breaker in play, which pumps up his creatures when he gets to attack. But look at Brian having quite a decent board of 4 very nice creatures. And I believe he also has Delirium, so that backward survival is also bigger. So I don't really see many good attacks from Seth, unless he has some good tricks in his hand.
We've already seen one trick from Seth Manfield, choking restraints there on the Paladin of Brian Braun-Duin, locking down the biggest creature on his opponent's side of the board. Not quite sure if there's Delirium there for him, but he certainly, I mean, with Noose Constrictor in play, has the potential to discard cards at any time to get there.
Yeah, I think he has a Sorcerer in Rapid Bite, an Instant and Grapple from the past. I see a Fiend Binder as a creature and a land, so he does have Delirium there. So also a Flying Moorland Drifter being there, but as you can see, Brian did not attack with that flyer into Seth. It looks like he wants to keep his creatures back, being on the back foot a little bit, his life total at 11.
Yeah, Seth can afford to potentially be a little bit more reckless here. He's not got as much damage that he needs to deal.
And this is an important thing to remember. These red-white decks can be very explosive, as there's a hand where here's being playing. Ooh, a Lightning Axe too from Seth Manfield, getting rid of that werewolf that was about to flip into a 4/6. And yeah, look at that, Breakneck Rider back on the battlefield. So yeah, my main point was that these red-white decks can be really tricksy and be very explosive out of nowhere. We've seen the combinations such as Russian of Adrenaline and Uncaged Fury finish off games fast, as well as something like Bigmatic Chasm. So I quite like the defensive way that Brian Bronduin is playing this game.
Looks like Bronduin has picked up a choking restraints of his own here. A few good targets on the other side of the battlefield.
I think I would go for the Hanwer Garrison there. Just because it can be a very annoying attacker, especially once the Breakneck Rider would flip, because as the card says, you get to attack, your attacking creatures get +1/+0 and trample, and that's very nice with the token making. But also a True Fate Sensor from Brian. That's a card I've really come around on, and I've appreciated.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought, you know what, this seems like a relatively low-impact piece of equipment. But actually, the vigilance it grants, the extra power and toughness, often enough to just sort of turn around a game. And nice addition to Brian Bronduin's board there.
Yeah, it's especially nice with something like the Fatebearer Paladin. Of course, it's there's a choking restraint on it, so it can't attack or block. But that actually makes it a proper threatening card.
So transformations left and right for Seth Manfield. He doesn't know where his Breakneck Rider is living here.
Yeah, and both players just drawing blanks here. So I think it's going to be Brian going to the skies with that Moorland Drifter. True Fate Sensor gives it vigilance. And he, as I said earlier, he should have Delirium already.
Meanwhile, of course, sideboarding just going on in our main match between Márcio Carvalho and Lukas Blohon. Do not fret, we will be able to get a chance to see all of that as and when they're ready to go. But you called it, Matej. There's the equip, and it looks like that a relatively safe attack for Brian Bronduin. So that's the first damage inflicted by Brian, but he does now have a clear path to deal a fair amount more.
I think Brian's just going to re-equip there onto his big guy. So that should make it at least a 5 toughness backward survivals, which matches up really well against this board.
But it looks like our main match is ready to go now. I think that this one might take a little bit of time to reach a conclusion. I think we should head back to our main table and see where Márcio Carvalho, our current leader in the World Championship, is going to go in terms of coming back in this match against Lukas Blohon.
Yeah, I had a quick, brief look at the deck list from again from Lukas and Márcio, and I think Lukas should have a slight advantage, especially if he has Crypt Breaker. And there we go, turn 1 Crypt Breaker from Márcio, from Lukas Blohon. That's gonna get to work very fast.
Yeah, this was a key player in Lukas's last round, and on turn 1, it's just a formidable creature. You get to discard cards, make zombies. Sooner or later, those zombies can get tapped to draw you extra cards, and at some point, it really does overwhelm some of these decks that have less removal, and that's very much the case for Márcio.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Márcio, he had the great turn 2 Mana Accelerator, but turn 3 he played another creature with Defender, so he can't really punish Lukas for being on the play and having a Mana Accelerator, and Lukas can just start putting the Crypt Breaker to work. And I think I also saw a Murderous Compulsion in his hand, so that means that he's going to be able to get some value out of the Crypt Breaker later on too. And then once he starts drawing cards and, with the second Crypt Breaker ability, he's going to get way ahead in this game.
Yeah, not too many 1-drops in the format that have real potential to do big things, both at the start of the game and as we get further through, but Crypt Breaker definitely qualifies there. We can see Carvalho's hand. He's got Fork in the Road to sort out his mana, grapple with the past to draw into things. Sage of Ancient Lore at some point will be powerful, and Summary Dismissal also to stop a big threat from Lukas, but if Blohon wants to, he can just keep on playing Zombies every turn. Yeah,
but I think Márcio finding that Fork in the Road was very important because we know he's splashing red for Ulrich of the Kindred, but also for Burn from Within. I think he really needed that mountain, and he's going to burn away the Crypt Breaker, I assume, here.
Yeah, best to deal with the rare as soon as possible. And there we have it. I mean, Lucas can't be too sad to see one of the bombs on the opponent's side of the table being used so early. I mean, I don't think it's at all a bad plan. Of course, exiling the Crypt Breaker means that it's definitely not going to be coming back this game, though if there's a game 3, you never know.
You get nice value. Burn from Within actually being very important here because it does exile the creature that it targets, meaning that Lucas can't bring the Crypt Breaker back with his double Midnight Scavengers. So it's actually a very useful line of text there.
Yeah, the Midnight Scavengers, they're not just about melding with those rats. Every now and again, you have a powerful rare in the graveyard that you'd much rather get back. Welling Ghoul there, putting a couple of cards in the graveyard. That's another way, of course, of getting to Delirium, the kind of the back doorway.
Yeah, he's already one card type short, having creature, land, and sorcery.
And of course, Midnight Scavengers, they can make the most of that graveyard being a little bit fuller also. Well, big powerful rare has already been deployed by Lukas Blohon this game. It only seems fair for Márcio to get to put one of his onto the battlefield also.
Yeah, Lucas a little unlucky here. He had to discard Gul'Kal's Accomplice to the Crypt Breaker early because he wasn't sure if he would have had enough lands. And right as the Crypt Breaker died, Lucas did draw 2 lands in a row. So I wouldn't really say that he is flooded, but yeah, I mean, now he gets the value back, plays the Midnight Scavenger, gets back the Gul'Kal's Accomplice. And his board is already wide enough that if he draws the Graph Rats, he could be really close to actually finishing the game off.
Yeah, Sage of Ancient Lore, yes, it's the biggest creature on the battlefield, but right now, Lukas Blohon looking to go wide, we call it, able to sort of swarm around the edges of that big human shaman werewolf that if it transforms, it will be, quite frankly, gigantic.
Yeah, and you could hear Márcio there asking how many cards Lucas has in his hand. You have to know that he's probably scared of that Chittering Host melding from the previous game. So he's very aware that that can happen and has to play this defensively.
So just allows his big werewolf to transform there, but has Summary Dismissal in hand. So, I mean, he may just have to use that if he sees a 2/2 rat coming down, which is kind of a crazy state of affairs.
Yeah, and Lucas did draw a Rise from the Grave himself, so even if that gets countered, he can bring back the following turn. So it's quite neat what's going on here, because Márcio also got to flip that Sage of the Ancient Lore, so that werewolf is gigantic right now.
Summary Dismissal, of course, one of the more powerful counterspells in the format, able to deal with abilities on the stack, also very, very powerful against some of the triggered casting abilities that we see on Eldrazi in the format.
Yeah, we've seen it in Constructed. Getting to counter this Tended Mindbender and its trigger and the Kozilek's return trigger is very nice.
And I suppose technically Summary Dismissal with Meld actually gets kind of interesting also.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
So Lukas Blohon here, for now he's just sort of sitting back trying to build up a wider board, not being too aggressive, but at the moment, at least on the board, he's got time.
Yeah, and I think this game plan suits Márcio. Like, both players are at high life totals, and Márcio has that vigilant, big vigilant werewolf. It's hitting in for a lot of damage, and he can also flip his werewolf anytime into 4/6 now that after he plays his 6th land, and the Geist of the Archives keeps the cards flowing. He'll just get to his good cards faster while keeping up a counterspell.
Geist of the Archive, a 0/4 letting you scry each and every turn, just so quickly just develops a huge amount of, not card advantage, but card quality for you as you're able to scry away the cards you don't want, find the ones that you need.
Yeah, and he played it on turn 3, so he's been milking that ever since.
Yeah, if the last game was quick, I don't think we can necessarily assume that this one will be.
Ooh, quadruple block from Lukas Blohon on that flipped Sage.
You have 2 cards, right? Yeah.
Márcio very carefully figuring out the order here. And we have our first score update from the back tables. Brian Braun doing a game up now against Seth Manfield in that match that we were able to take a little bit of a look in on.
Yeah, so that Werewolf of Ancient Hunger finally hitting the bin, or decimating both boards, it seems. The board was wide just a moment ago, and now it's small again. But we know that's kind of Lucas' plan. He has the Rise from the Grave. He can buy back his Midnight Scavengers, and then buy back another creature. So
Yeah, and a nice little sequence there. A couple of other updates. JC Tao up a game against Mike Sigrist. And, well, when you've got a match between Luis Scott Vargas and Shota Yasuoka, you know it's going to go fast. They're already in game 3.
Of course.
There's Rise from the Grave, bringing back one of Lukas Blohon's creatures. Let's see if you called it just right.
Yeah, but we know Márcio has that counter spell, so he's going to go for it here.
So, Rise from the Grave exiled. There's some nice exiling action here with the rares from Márcio Carvalho between that one and the earlier removal spell. Just gradually getting rid of the big threats from Lukas Blohon. That normally Lukas Blohon's plan, casting the counter spells.
Yeah, indeed, and it was actually sideboarded in by Márcio. He was well aware of that threat, and even got to grapple with the past, bringing back the Sage of Ancient Lore. It proved to be quite successful on the first go, so Márcio wants to run it back here.
Márcio just checking out his graveyard there. He does have Delirium already. Draws into a Wretched Griff, and that one, of course, will be a very nice one as and when he chooses to cast it.
Yeah, good cards all the way through from Márcio there. He played this game really well, and sideboarding in that Summer Dismissal was really nice. It proved its worth in this game, countering that Rise from the Grave. And Lukas hasn't been able to get much going there. He does have the Murderous Compulsion in his hand from the get-go, but there has been almost no tapped creatures to kill.
So Ghoulclaw's Apprentice there, just creating another zombie. Lukas Blohon's board here, while he's got permanents on it, none of them individually are quite as exciting as everything that Márcio has going on. And I think you called it right a few turns ago. With each and every turn, he is able to just build up this advantage with his scrying every turn and just having extra cards in hand. Certainly not the worst, simply with his big old werewolf there.
Yeah, I think the players missed the fact that Sage of the Ancient Lore should be flipped already, because Lukas did not play a spell. He just exiled the Ghoulclaw's Accomplice to create a 2/2 zombie. So that should have been flipped.
A missed trigger there. It's not something that the judges naturally are going to point out to the players unless it's something that is deemed to be detrimental that has been sort of missed on purpose. So that one is just going to stay as it is.
Yeah, let's see if Lukas can play a spell here. I think he does have another flip card.
He has a Tooth Collector there.
Yeah, and a Tooth Collector. I think he has a Graph Rat, so too little too late. Midnight Scavenger already exiled.
He'll have to find his second copy of that. There we can see the Tooth Collector. Once he's got Delirium, it represents a clear and present threat to many creatures, though, to be fair, it's on its own, it's not quite good enough to kill much on Márcio Carvalho's side of the board.
Yeah. It's better for Lukas to play out his hand because of the Sage of the Ancient Lore. He just wants to keep it as small as possible. Even though Márcio is keeping a lot of cards in his hand, naturally he wants to keep the Sage as big as possible.
You see that number 3 next to Lukas Blohon's name. That indicates that he's currently ranked 3rd in our player rankings, winning the Pro Tour, of course, doing a fantastic job of boosting his overall Pro points level. We can see Soul Swallower in hand, though, for Márcio Carvalho. That one, a very big deal, because he also does have Delirium. It's going to be able to gain +3/+3 counters left and right once it's in play.
And let's not forget, he also has the Wretched Griff as a 3/4 flyer that's actually dominating the board right now. So he finally will be able to chip into Lukas' life total there.
Now, of course, this does mean that Lukas Blohon will finally be able to start looking at that Murderous Compulsion and finding a good target for it. For now, though, he does have to think about his blocking options.
I think he'll finally get some value out of that Murderous Compulsion. It's been sitting in his hand for a long time, so I think he will want to kill that Sage of Ancient Lore with a triple block, it looks like. It's a little risky if Márcio has something, but it would also then mean that he has to play out a card from his hand. So, and Lukas potentially could also represent some sort of trick. So he just has to decide if it's worth triple blocking here. He goes for a triple block with the Tooth Collector as well. It's interesting.
It is interesting, leaving a zombie token in play instead. I mean, basically, the creatures in play on Lukas' side of the board because some of them have been afforded him so cheaply, they don't feel quite as bad to throw in the way, even in double and triple blocks.
But he drew a double face cards, and if that's the Midnight Scavengers,
instant. I got 5, I think.
Márcio has Delirium, as Lukas just checked. But if that's Midnight Scavengers that Lukas just drew, no, it's just a Graph Rats, unfortunately for Lukas. I think the Scavengers would have been great here, being able to meld into that Chittering Host on this board, while also probably being able to play the Murderous Compulsion.
Now, one difference in this draft compared to what you might see in perhaps if you're drafting at home with friends is these players didn't get a chance to see the backs of any double face cards during the draft itself, so there was no opportunity to make sure that the person that was in black didn't get both Graph Rats and Chittering Host and Midnight Scavengers. In that respect, a bit more like drafting on Magic Online.
Yeah. Now you saw Lukas actually not pulling the trigger on the Wretchgriff because it seems like he considers the Soul Swallower the bigger threat. It grew to a 6/6 right now, so I think Lukas will want to kill that instead of the Wretchgriff. But Márcio has that Ulrich again.
Yeah, so many different scary monsters on Márcio Carvalho's side of the board here. Ulrich being added to the board alongside the 6/6 Soul Swallower that's only going to get larger. Many threats here that are going to be a clear and present danger to Lukas Blohon. Even though the life totals right now are more or less the same, that's not going to last too long. There we see Ulrich of the Krallen Horde. When it enters the battlefield or when it transforms, it gets to give something +4/+4. So that means that these attacks are pretty gigantic from Márcio Carvalho.
Indeed.
And then, of course, on top of that, now Márcio can just choose to pass the turn at some point and effectively get a spell out of it, because when you transform Ulrich of the Krallen Horde, he gets to fight something.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, Lukas just drew the Midnight Scavengers as well, so he'll be able to get the Chittering Host. But I'm wondering if it's not too late, because he just took such a big swing last turn. He'll be able to kill the Soul Swallower with the Murderous Compulsion and play the Scavengers as well, meld. But he's so far behind against that Ulrich that I don't think he'll be able to do much attacking anymore. Like, he already had to sacrifice so much of his board in the previous turns.
Well, we do get a chance to see it. It looks pretty impressive when it happens, it must be said.
Yeah. Just a big card.
Absolutely. And of course, the Midnight Scavengers will get back something. Tooth Collector seeming like a great fit. There's the Chittering Host, part man, part rat, all horror, haste, menaced, and when it enters the battlefield, your other creatures getting +1/+0 and menace.
When the trigger resolves, and then the second one resolves and says, "I don't see another Graph Rat or another Chittering or whatever."
Sure. Just checking.
Yeah, so some confirmation from the judges on how the interaction works.
Yeah, because you don't often have 2 copies of one of the cards in play when you cast the other half.
Yeah.
Look at that gigantic monster. Twice the size of any other creature on the battlefield, at least in terms of card size. In terms of actual creature size, it's not that much bigger than some of what Márcio Carvalho has going on here.
And look at that, an attack from Lukas Blohon.
2 cards?
I think... I mean, he could get some value out of that attack, but there's also the Swift Spinner.
Sure.
So I think Ulrich is going to eat something here. Yeah, look at the Márcio. It's like, yeah, this works. I like this. It's going to be a double block on the zombie. Remember, all the creatures have menace that are attacking here. So both of them.
So Márcio, he's going to take a fair old hit here, but ultimately he's the one with the power on the board.
Yeah, it was actually a bluff. Lukas was trying to attack in such a way that Márcio would not block with his Ulrich, because if he did, he would scoop. But if he hadn't, then maybe he would have saved something for the following turns. It was really interesting because the zombie was a 3/2 Ulrich, of course bigger, but Lukas didn't have any trick going on there.
Bluffing, of course, works a little bit differently in the World Championship to elsewhere, because these players have seen exactly what's in each other's deck. So you can put together a very kind of pinpoint bluff, I suppose, saying, you know that this card is in my deck. Maybe you'll see it. But we're going to get a chance to look in on one of our other matches now. We get a chance to see a little bit more of Brian Braun-Duin up against Seth Manfield. Seth on 10 life here. And Brian Braun-Duin, he was able to wear through the early rush from Seth and win game 1. And it looks like he's not in bad shape in game 2 either here.
Yeah, Faithbearer Paladin is actually quite good against red-white. We've seen it being restrained, choking restrained last game, and here it's on the battlefield. Look at that, Seth is attacking into it. It might be a bluff. We don't see the player's hand, so that makes it an interesting guessing game. So, but in Brian's spot, I would not block the Howlpack Wolf here. It's way too risky, and you wouldn't want to get blown out by something like Strength of Arms or Rush of Adrenaline. Of course, he knows the deck lists, so he knows what could be expected from Seth Manfield. I think Seth has a Puncturing Light in his hand too, and after playing that Fiendbinder, he's still representing the 2 mana for it.
Yeah, nice sequence of plays there for Seth Manfield. The number 2 next to his name indicating that he finished 2nd in the overall player rankings. Just missing out on Player of the Year at the very last hurdle as Owen Turtenwald picked past him at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. But for now, a True Faith sensor there on the Paladin. So if it was a big threat before, well, it's even bigger now with Vigilance. No real reason not to get stuck in here unless Brian Braun-Duin is particularly afraid of whichever tricks are coming from Seth Manfield.
Yeah, but at this point, you don't mind making it work because you can attack with a 5/5 lifelinker. If Seth has a trick, it probably means he has to block and play it, because by equipping the True Fate sensor, it put the Paladin out of the Puncturing Light range, which is great for him, of course. And that's just going to mean that this might be a huge life swing, unless Seth has something very good. We've seen Lightning Axe. That would be a very good card in this spot.
Me at 11, you at 10.
But if he doesn't have it, he might be in trouble. Not blocking means he would go to 5 and Brian up to 16.
Yeah, there is Puncturing Light in Seth Manfield's deck. Just having a quick look through the deck list here. He has a great deal of power in the deck if he's able to deploy it. I mean, he's got Thalia's Lancers able to fetch Bruna the Fading Light, which is obviously a lovely combination if you can get it all going together. But for now, he's going down to just 5 life on that attack. So he is very much on the ropes here. That Wolf unable to block because there are not any Wolfy friends for it. Just a 3/3 that's kind of stranded on the battlefield there, unable to do too much.
Yeah. And yeah, as I said, Brian is really in great shape. They Faithbearer Paladin with the True Fate sense really turned the game around, while also adding an Ovenwald Captive to the board, which can be quite a threat of its own. And remember, Brian also has that Bound by Moonsilver, so he can just have that jumping around as he needs between creatures.
Braun-Duin here already a game up, and actually in pretty fantastic shape in spite of having lost to Márcio Carvalho. Still at 6-2 in this tournament, which puts him just behind the pace. And of course, if Márcio Carvalho falls this round, well, Brian might be able to, with a win here, get back into the joint lead in this World Championship.
Yeah, but BBD has done tremendously well in this tournament so far, surprising many people because he's one of the most inexperienced ones in the field. But he just keeps on winning, losing to Márcio last round, but making fighting in all 3 games to get that win, and it just impressed me with the way he played. Very good stuff.
Yeah, he was on the testing team with the Team Eureka guys, Brad Nelson, Martin Mueller, and Joel Larson, and ultimately outshining all of them thus far in the tournament, just putting in a great performance, our Grand Prix master.
Yeah, and I've just gotten info that Seth has 6 lands and has Bruna in his hand. Well, apparently, or that maybe it was a previous game. I don't see a Thalia's Lancers.
You're at 21.
All right.
So Brian there this time elects to block. No fear.
Was that a Cold Stone bluff from Seth Manfield, or does he have some good follow up here?
I mean, it's interesting because the Wolf really was not doing anything, but we've It looks like we may have a very big play here. Seth Manfield lining up 7 mana, and can you think of any good 7 mana spells in this format, Bentay Zalakai?
There's a lot of good 7 mana spells in this format, that's for sure.
I think I spy a Spreading Flames in his hand.
Whew.
This
That's a good
could
one.
be a big game.
Yeah, so that makes the tag that much more interesting, because Spreading Flames means that he'll get to divide some damage up between the creatures, meaning he'll probably get to finish off the Fate-Bearer Paladin while taking down one more creature as well.
We will just wait to see whether or not this is going to be a big moment in the match between Seth Manfield and Brian. We'll be back to our main match soon enough. It looks like they've just finished their sideboarding, but I'm really intrigued to see what the follow-up here is, and it is Spreading Flames. Kills off 2 of Brian Braunduin's creatures, and this could be a big turning point for Seth.
Yeah, finally getting rid of that Fate-Bearer Paladin that already did quite a bit of work. I don't quite see if Brian is close to Delirium, because I see a creature and land, but not much else there. It's we don't quite see his graveyard. I think he has a Vessel of Nascency though, so if he doesn't have it yet, he should be very close soon. Because of the Moorland Drifter, if he had Delirium, he would just put on the equipment and swing twice with the flyer for the win. But since he's thinking, I'm guessing he does not have Delirium just yet.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 for Delirium. Heartbreakingly close for Brian Braunduin. Though, of course, you know, he's on 21 life. He's got a little bit of time. But I think we would be best spending our time over on our main match. Let's head across back to see how the deciding game goes between Márcio Carvalho and Lukas Blohon.
Let's see if Márcio can be stopped and limited. Lukas Blohon is in his way.
By my count, Márcio hasn't actually lost in a pro-level draft since a couple of Pro Tours ago.
Oh yeah, he went 6-0 at Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad, and then 6-0 at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, nabbing the Draft Master title, qualifying for Worlds, and now he's 4-0. Look at that, turn 2 Ovenwald captive again.
Yeah, we see a pretty solid hand here for Márcio. He's got his burn from within as and when he needs, though he has of course, to find the red mana to be able to work with it. A quick Boon of Emrakul there to deal with the early Werewolf from Carvalho, though. We've seen that if you give it time, it can just have a huge impact on the board, both accelerating your early mana and at some point turning into a big threat.
Yeah. Now Márcio passing the turn, he has a Nebelgast Herald that he's going to play here, tap down the Accomplice, and now Lukas will be able to run out a Graphrats, or maybe something else. Oh, it's an Extricator of Sin. That's nice. Sacrificing that Ghoul Caller's Accomplice and really getting the value.
Oh, absolutely here. So it gets the 3/2 token halfway to Delirium, already with an enchantment in the graveyard. That one of the trickier ones. Delirium, of course, working fantastically with the Extricator if it can transform.
Nice drag under from Márcio there, getting rid of the token. And Lukas, well, he does have the Murderous Compulsion, which you can use to kill the Herald and get to 3 out of 4 on Delirium count. But there was also, I think, a Midnight Scavengers. It's going to bring back the Ghoul Caller's Accomplice. Not getting closer to Delirium yet, but managing to get more and more value out of his cards.
Now, when we talk about value, Matej, what we're sort of saying is getting one card doing multiple things, right? It's gradually just meaning that if I play one card, you play one card that does 2 things. Sooner or later, I feel like I've run out of cards.
Yeah, it's exactly what I meant there.
Sleep Paralysis there on the Midnight Scavengers. It won't be doing too much just yet, though if it does meld with Graft Rats, then all of a sudden the Sleep Paralysis kind of goes away.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, Márcio Carvalho able to attack in with his Nebelgast Herald. Lukas Blohon dropping to 16, and we can see, well, 3 spells in Lukas Blohon's in hand. Murderous Compulsion alongside that Ghoul Caller's Accomplice he's got back, and a Rise from the Grave. Lukas's graveyard very much an active zone for him.
Yeah, and he finally pulled the trigger on the Murderous Compulsion, using his mana well, also deploying the Ghoul Caller's Accomplice, although he doesn't have much pressure just yet. And Márcio got that Soul Swallower, but not close to Delirium himself. So let's see if Lukas can push through here. He doesn't have the right card in his hand just yet.
Inspiring Captain, though, a pretty solid body to add to the board if Márcio does not have Delirium just yet, able to at least throw in a trade with the Soul Swallower. By the looks of things, Sage of Ancient Lore is in hand for Márcio Carvalho here. He's actually got just a fantastic array of cards to work with here. If anything, the only thing he's choked on is mana, because as and when he gets red mana, as when he gets Somberwald Stag going on, or Burn from Within, well, this could be a big problem for Lukas Blohon.
There's Sage, draws the resin card, the 5th land right on time for Márcio. And Lukas is stumbling a little bit, drawing 2 lands in a row. He really wanted the Graph Rats here for the meld or something similar. He would have been really able to punish Márcio. But it's not looking great. Not close to Delirium. Already uses the removal spell, his Rise from the Grave, not being able to do anything relevant.
And we saw even from the beginning of the draft that we watched with Márcio Carvalho that there's a lot of raw power in his deck. He has a number of rares that can really change a board state, and it looks like he's been able to draw into them 2 games out of 3 here, and that could spell another victory for Team Portugal and our Draft Master.
Well, he would be then 1 match away from getting the real 15-0? No, 18-0 actually, in those premier level events there. Actually, so Lukas can't really wait around for too much, so he pulls the trigger on the Rise from the Grave, takes out the Nebelgast Herald and taps down on one of the creatures and starts swinging.
Well, if you're looking for a study in contrasts, look at Blohon's hand compared to that of Márcio Carvalho. Just so much action going on here. And the sad bit for Lukas Blohon here is while he's a little bit ahead on board, he's not so far ahead on board that he can really feel like he's in a decisive spot to win this game. And as things go on, I have to say that things look great for Márcio here.
Yeah, Márcio now has a 5/5 Sage that he's attacking with, and he'll be able to follow it up with the Somberwald Stag. Killing, I would guess, that Nebelgast Herald. Look at Lukas. He knows he's in rough shape.
Yeah, Somberwald Stag there. Just a very potent threat. Even if it ends up trading 1 for 1 with whatever the creature is that it fights, it's a 5-mana removal spell, and often that's not even the case. It just gets to sit in play as a 4/3, having taken down a reasonable threat on the other side of the battlefield.
Yeah.
Lukas Blohon here just sort of considering his situation, figuring out what he wants to do. The only real sort of consolation he has at this point, I guess, is that there is no red mana available to Márcio Carvalho. As and when he finds a red mana, well, it's an embarrassment of riches for the Portuguese player. He can choose to either use a big removal spell, play his big mythic werewolf. Any of these options, a scary prospect for Lukas.
Yeah. Lukas does draw a boon of Emrakul here, and he still has the Gold Caller's Accomplice in his graveyard, so he's not out of cards just yet. But the Sage is very, very big already. Márcio's going to draw a card for his turn, and it's going to be a 6/6 there. So there's the boon killing the Stag, and just Lukas out of cards now. As we like to call it, flashes back the Gold Caller's Accomplice. And Márcio playing so fast too. Look at it. It's a 6/6 Sage of Ancient Lore. Swinging again.
Yeah, Lukas can afford to take this hit, but can't afford to take a great many more. Márcio on 13 life, and I guess in principle, I mean, if Lukas draws a spell here to potentially get a little bit of extra action going on, he may be able to get there somewhere. But I mean, ideally, something like Graph Rats, so that he can turn those Midnight Scavengers into a relevant card on the battlefield, would be kind of a nice pickup.
Yeah, the thing is, Márcio doesn't even have to play spells here. He has a Summary Dismissal in his hand, so he could just pass and pass to flip his Sage of Ancient Lore. But he just plays out his cards a little bit, keeping up the Summary Dismissal with playing that land and also adding a Quilt Wolf to the board. So that's pretty nice, and I think Márcio is in great shape to go to 5-0 in draft over the 2 days.
Now, Mete, you've played in a lot of different draft formats over the course of the years at the Pro Tour and beyond. Try and summarize for us quite how tough the field is at this World Championship when it comes to drafting.
It's ridiculously tough, and playing against Márcio is no joke. Look at Márcio just changing it up. So the attacking for 10 here, putting Lukas down to 6, also flipping his Sage, And yeah, I think Lukas tried his hardest, but it looks like Marcio's going to wrap it up.
Yeah, the dead weight there, finally enough for Márcio to pull the trigger on his summary dismissal. That gets exiled, and Lukas still just stuck without a huge amount going on. Blinking through, taking Márcio down to single digits here. He's on 9, but Lukas Blohon on just 6 life.
Nice card. So he plays Spectral Reserves here to gain some life back and also getting some creatures in. He also still was chipping away. He's out of cards, so that flipped Sage is still only a 5 power. So Lukas can chump block the Quill Wolf here.
Yeah, the Quilled Wolf, of course, not just a 2/2 with enough mana available. It can get pumped to a pretty sizable threat. So it is something that Lukas Blohon does have to respect.
Yeah, Lukas actually has the out of the Chittering Host still being relevant. If he draws a Graph Rats,
I had you at 16.
I don't think it's game over, but...
Oh, yeah. So we had 3, right?
Yeah. So Lukas down to 3 here. Backward Survivalist. So since that flipped Sage of Ancient Lore has Vigilance, it's tough. I think it was just a Terrarian for Lukas Blohon, which is not what you want to see when you're on the defensive so much. I think we're just one turn away from Márcio getting to that 5-0. One match away from top 4, basically. We think 9 wins will be enough.
Yeah, and certainly he has not lost very much in the early stages there. Lukas reveals his hand, offers the handshake. Márcio Carvalho, a little clap of the hands. Very, very pleased for him there. He knows how much that win means. He's now got some clear space against the rest of the field. He was already 1 win ahead of everybody else and taken down one of the people who was closest behind him in this World Championship race. And it looks like we've got some synchronized magic going on. Brian Braun-Duin able to win his match against Seth Manfield. And that means that our feature matches are complete for this round, but still plenty more action at this World Championship. We will be able to bring you plenty more of the story of what's been going on here in round 9 as we head back up to the news desk. These players, I mean, they've really been putting on a great show here. I've been interested to watch the way that Márcio was able to navigate through the draft even. He did see some powerful rares, but I don't know if everyone would necessarily have maneuvered the way that he did in terms of colors. Early on, you pick up a good green card, you get past a fantastic red-green rare. One of the things about drafting this format, talking to some of the pros, was about just how much more likely they would need to be to switch around in colors. Explain to us what the difference is when you're drafting with 7 other excellent pros.
Well, of course, from what I saw and from what I read, people thought like, oh, Márcio, well, he could have got a really good green-red deck, but ultimately green-red is not a good color combination, and so he switched into mainly being blue-green. By being green, you can also splash easily, and while having that Auric and also getting that burn from within, I think was just really nice way of finding a good archetype while being able to splash powerful cards.
Yeah, very powerful deck, and just one more round for him with that deck. It wouldn't surprise me if he wouldn't have minded playing a few extra rounds with it, because it seems to be doing good work for him. But we will now send back to the news desk and find out what else has been going on around the field here at our World Championship here at PAX in Seattle.
Thanks very much to Tim Willoughby and Matej Zatlkai. Rich Hagan here, joined at the desk by Ian Duke. Ian, great stuff going on. We've got BDM on the floor, gearing up to bring us more magic. It looks to me like Owen Turtenwild is still playing down there. Results coming in, though, with BBD defeating Seth Manfield. Manfield falls to 6-3, BBD up to 7-2, but Márcio 8-1. Extraordinary stuff.
Incredible, yeah. He's just been on an absolute tear.
Can't wait to see. I mean, normally at this point we'd go, let's leave the leader alone. We know he's doing well, that's fine. But if he wins the next round, 18-0 in the last year of Pro Tours.
Wow, that's just incredible. I mean, it's hard to overstate.
Essentially implausible.
How much of an accomplishment that is. Yeah.
Right. I mean, to win a Pro Tour draft is an achievement. To do 6-0 at every Pro Tour with our 400 players, we get 5 of those 6-0s. He did that 2 Pro Tours in a row, and here he is at 5-0 again. Right now, though, players are still desperately battling to avoid the 5th or 6th loss, which eliminates them. Let's head down to the floor. Brian David Marshall, who have you got? What's going on?
Rich, I'm sitting here watching a match between Owen Turtenwald and Ryuichi Tamada. It is the last match playing on the floor. Everyone else is done. Owen Turtenwald is attacking with an Erdwall Illuminator with a Scrounge Scythe on it, a Wretched Griff. He's also got a Storm Rider Spirit. He's got a couple of Solitary Hunter and a Watcher in the web. He's playing against Tamada. Tamada is blue-white. He's just played a Thraben Inspector, digging for a clue here. He's got an Enlightened Maniac. He's got a Spirit with a True Faith sensor on it. And he's got an Exultant Cultist with Spontaneous Mutation. The life totals are 5 to 6. Owen is at 5. Tamada is at 6. And Tamada is in survival mode here. It's an Air Force coming after him this turn. Owen taps his mana. He's got a Stag, fights the Spirit. The Scrounge Scythe goes over to the Storm Rider Spirit, and Owen lines up his attacks.
It's worth saying, BDM, that this is one of those rivalries that we see at the World Championship. These two played in round 1, and Tamada absolutely ran over Owen. Owen stumbled on mana in game 1, mulligan to 5 in game 2. Really wasn't much of a match. That's what got Tamada underway here in the tournament. And now, over 24 hours later, the tournament life of both is at stake because Tamada is at 3 and 5. If he loses, he's done for sure. Owen at 4 and 4. Needs a win to keep that possibility of the 5th loss, keep that away as far as possible. There's the handshake.
There's the handshake, the win for Owen. Tamada was at 1 after that last attack. He drew his card, and there was nothing there. Owen Turtenwald takes the match.
So Owen Turtenwald goes to 5 and 4. Thanks very much, BDM, for that. So that means that Owen very definitely alive. Those spotlights, that's us, right up in the top deck. Rich and Ian here with you. So a whole glut of results came in over those last couple of minutes. We'll review those for you in just a little bit. But for a few minutes, we're going to head away from the direct world of the cutthroat competition of the World Championship. But there's nonetheless a very global theme that's coming up, because one of the great things that Wizards of the Coast did is they introduced a whole bunch of community ambassadors to come here to PAX and talk in many, many languages to many Magic fans around the world. So now's our chance, just for a few minutes while we work out all the math of what we're looking at going into the last round of draft, a chance to spend a few minutes in the company of our community ambassadors.
My name is Maria Bartholdi, and I co-host the podcast Magic the Amateuring.
I'm the professor of Tolarian Community College, a YouTube channel, what is currently the largest MTG independent YouTube channel right now at over 155,000 subscribers.
I'm Ryan, aka Pandemonium. Stream on Twitch about 60 to 70 hours a week.
My name is Ruben Zhao, and I'm from China. I play a lot of video games. I do acting in China, and been on some TV dramas and some reality shows or whatever.
My friend Megan and I have been doing Magic the Amateuring, our podcast, for 4 years now. We started it when we were very first learning how to play Magic. So if you go back to episode 1, you'll hear Megan and I struggling to understand First Strike and Trample and how to assign blocker damage, that kind of thing.
I do product reviews, basically if it's for sale and it's an accessory for Magic the Gathering, from card sleeves to deck boxes, I have probably already tested it and reviewed it and graded it.
I've been playing Magic since like middle school, I think. Like back in, well, I wasn't really competitive or anything, but you know, Magic has been a really big part of my life.
We try and promote to the importance of women in the game and having a presence in the game, and I think it's really important to the game overall as a whole if we have more female players and content creators be really visible in the community.
As the ambassador, you know, it's just great that like I get to like come here and, you know, bring back all these like first-hand information about the you know all these stuff that are so hard for them to see.
We get a lot of comments when people are watching the stream like, oh, this guy's in a band and this guy's got heaps of tattoos and they play Magic. Oh, it's acceptable for me to play Magic now. So they're trying to, I think, break the boundaries of that sort of typical quote-unquote like nerdy guy that plays Magic. They're trying to make people realize that, hey, there's other people that play as well. So not saying that I'm not a typical nerdy guy, because that's literally what I do for a living.
So far, what they have done for us is taken us around the mothership, as it's called, Wizards of the Coast main headquarters.
Mark Rosewater himself led us through the grand tour of Wizards of the Coast.
We saw a lot of stuff that I can't talk about.
All the different floors. We saw the pit from R&D.
There was a big dragon statue and stuff like that. And every floor had like different murals from different sort of art series and different like series of the cards.
And then we had a conspiracy draft, which was pretty epic. You guys, I took the crown. No big deal.
I always thought that Magic was made in some kind of dungeon or volcano.
Definitely one of the things that I'm most excited for is just, well, everything about Kaladesh. We are going to get to see so much about this set this weekend, and I want to know what the cards do. I want to know what art is on the cards.
Paramount Theater is absolutely incredible. I mean, it looks like something out of a fairy tale. There's gold on the ceilings, there's gold on the walls, and just being here, you feel like you're in Kaladesh. Even the Learn to Play area is decked out to look like Kaladesh, so any new players looking to try the game for the first time are gonna have an excellent environment to play in.
Definitely the most excitable thing for me, I think, is the street fair, because it's a little bit different, right? So obviously Kaladesh is a bit of an India theme. Everything's going to be sort of very over the top.
I think probably still the competition.
Watching like pros play and then me stealing their deck lists and then taking home and building those decks and then like beating everyone in the house, that's the thing I'm the most excited for.
While I'm here at PAX, one of the main things as a community ambassador that I want to do is be able to bridge that gap between Wizards of the Coast and what they want the public to see and to get out of and experience about PAX, and the audience itself that is maybe not at PAX.
I'm going to be doing a lot of live streaming. That's pretty much why they have me here. There's 1,000,001 YouTubers, so I think that they want someone to stream it a bit and see my reactions. I'm not always as PG as a lot of the Magic streams that are out there, so I think that they know that, and they want to see my live reactions to stuff that happens. So should be pretty fun.
I really want to be able to find the best questions that people are tweeting at me and asking, and a way to provide those answers to them, and to also just maybe be able to get a slice of the Kaladesh Street Fair, of the many different panels that are going to be talked about at PAX, and be able to bring versions of that or just moments of that to my audience.
I'm going to be streaming all these times, like every day, pretty much, during PAX, and I'm really excited to bring these information back, because not a lot of players in China get to see what's going on here.
So we're going to release special podcast content that's just interviews with cool people like Mark Rosewater, Melissa DeTora, and then some of the pro players like Louis Scott Vargas and Owen Turtenwald, and that'll give everybody a special glimpse into not only R&D and how they think and create the game, but also the pro players and what they're like just as everyday people besides these giant heroes of Magic, which I think will be really fun.
Fantastic stuff there with our community ambassadors. And you know, when we say at every Pro Tour, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, we try not to ever lose sight of the fact that there are only a few of us here in the building, but we know that there are millions of you around the world who love the greatest game in the world as much as we do. We thank you for being with us, whether it is morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Thanks to our community ambassadors. They do a great, great job. Now, I'm here with Ian Duke from R&D, and people in R&D, they do a lot of different jobs and they don't all work on all the sets. But this is a set that is very special to you, right?
That's true. I was one of the lead developers for Kaladesh. Development is kind of the second half of design, where we're executing on the vision of the set, making sure things are balanced, iterating on the card file, and so on.
Right, so you can certainly see Ian on the mechanics panel from earlier today for Kaladesh. And just how exciting is it after so much work over so many months and years on a new world, because obviously it's a huge deal when we go somewhere new, to finally for the set to be out there and seeing all the Twitter and the Reddit and all our community ambassadors talking about the new set.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you said it, Rich, there are years that go into the process of making a Magic set, and so it takes moments like this when the set is finally being revealed and the community is responding to it, for the set to finally sink in for us and feel real, you know? And it's just great There's a ton of energy in the community, seeing what people think of the cards, validating the work that we put into the set. It's just an awesome feeling.
Well, we have a new card to show you here on the stream for the first time. Now, it is out there on social media because just across the road in the rest of PAX, Mark Rosewater had his Drive to Work podcast live, as it were, this afternoon. Now, if you want to see that, we'll be showing you that tomorrow in its entirety. But as I say, there was a preview card in that presentation, and we wanted to make sure that you all got a chance to see that today. So without further ado, why don't we take a look at Fleet Wheel Cruiser. Here it comes for you. And Ian, well, who better than you to walk us through what this card is and does?
So Fleet Wheel Cruiser is a rare vehicle. It's a 4-mana vehicle, 5/3 power and toughness. It has trample and haste, and it crews for 2. But what's really cool about this card, Rich, is that when Fleet Wheel Cruiser enters the battlefield, it actually crews itself for a turn. It turns right into an artifact creature, and it can attack for 5 the turn you cast it.
Now, 5/3 for 4, that's sort of the realm of juggernauts, right? The kind of that's your kind of rate for something like that. And I mean, apart from anything else, and I know for your job, you don't need this to be true, but that artwork is amazing.
Oh, it's super cool. I love all the artwork in this set. It's just so uplifting and vibrant and inspiring. And just, yeah, fantastic stuff.
Vehicles, I know, had to be an incredibly tough thing to bring to bear. Anytime you do anything super new, you're then sort of having to reinvent the wheel, or in this case, the wheels. But vehicles had to be a super tough experience for you.
They were super tough. If anyone had a chance to watch the mechanics panel from earlier, we went through dozens of different versions of vehicles trying to find the right one, experimented with a lot of different ways to crew them, and ultimately, we're really, really happy with what we settled on. Vehicles work great in limited, they work fantastic in constructed. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see that Fleet Wheel Cruiser be a card that shows up in some tournament quality constructed decks.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we're really happy with how things turned out.
And that's great because, everyone wants to use the new mechanics in whatever format of the game is their weapon of choice. So it's brilliant when something that looks like, hey, this is going to be really fun in limited, if there are vehicles that are going to make it into constructed. So
that's absolutely true. And often, working on the development of a set, we often have the reputation that we're very focused on high-level play. We're here at the World Championship right now. We're talking about the Pro Tour, but that's only such a small part of the job. Really, we're just focused on making Magic the best game it can be, making the gameplay awesome, making it balanced at all levels of play. And, fingers crossed, I hope we got there for vehicles.
Right, so Fleet Wheel Cruiser is our latest card. You can visit www.kaladesh.com to see all the preview cards as they unveil right the way across the weekend. Remember, we've got 3 and a bit more days of action still to go here at PAX. So we have just one more round of draft to come. How's Shota Yasuoka doing? Rather well, I'm glad you asked. He's at 6-3, and that puts him right in the mix for a top 4 berth. He's done it before at what was the Players' Championship in 2012 with his Ether Vial concoction, which is still one of the most famous decks we've seen at this intimate tournament. Just a phenomenal deck that was. Can he get back to the top 4? We'll find out. But yesterday, we had a chance to find out a little more about the world of Shota Yasuoka.
I'm here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer and Worlds competitor Shota Yasuoka. Shota, you played in the Players' Championship the first time we had this World Championship event, and you played this crazy modern deck in that format. What, can we expect something similarly crazy from you for this tournament?
5年前の世界選手権の初めて行った時にモダンデッキのすごいクレイジーなデッキを持ってきたっていうふうに記憶しているそうなんですけれども、今回も同じようなクレイジーデッキを持ってきたんですか？
いや、今回は結構普通ですね。はい。
Normal deck.
So, why a normal deck? For has Modern changed so much? Is it not the Wild West format that it was maybe 5 years ago?
5年前に比べたらモダンフォーマットがちょっと変わってしまって、同じようなクレイジーデッキでは通用しないとお考えでしょうか？
そうですね。やっぱりもう多種多様なデッキができて、全部が完成度高いので、ちょっとみんなが知らないようなクレイジーなデッキはなかなか厳しいですね。
There are many decks that are established, in modern format, so it's very difficult to come up with a crazy deck to try to beat all those, decks that are established.
Okay. Speaking of established, we know what a fierce competitor you are. What does it mean to you to get to test yourself against a field of 23 of the other best players in the game today, and maybe try to do one better than you did at that first Players Championship?
また5年ぶりに世界選手権に戻ってきて、あと23人のプレイヤーと戦うわけですけれども、どういうお気持ちですかということと、前回の成績よりもワンアップして一つ勝ちを重ねたいとお考えでしょうか？
そうですね、やっぱり世界選手権出場は結構一つの目標ではあったんで、とても嬉しいです。もちろん優勝を目指して頑張りたいと思います。
It was his goal to come back to the World Championship, of course. So really happy to be here, and he would like to do his best and win the tournament.
If you're going to win the tournament and you can picture your opponent in the finals, what is the most satisfying, most rewarding matchup that you can have there that you just makes this the most special win if that happens?
決勝戦で戦いたいプレイヤーですから、この選手に勝てたらとても嬉しいっていうふうに感じるプレイヤーはどなたでしょうか？
いや、もう渡辺裕也にリベンジしたいですね。
裕也渡辺。
Of course, his opponent. Revenge. That's on the menu here. Best served cold. We'll see if that happens. Shota Yasuoka, good games this weekend at the World Championship.
So that was Shota Yasuoka. This is Brian David Marshall and Ian Duke. BDM, I know you spent a lot of time over the last few days in the company of the Japanese contingent, and I know you still don't speak Japanese, and
not even close.
They don't speak a lot of English, but it feels to me like you've made a real connection with a whole bunch of them this time. Some really great stories coming out of your interaction with the Japanese players.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved the opportunity to find out about Team Budagoya. One of the things that I was really excited to talk about is this perception of Shota Yasuoka somehow as a, this perception that he was not a good limited player. And I asked him about it. It's kind of a difficult question to ask. And he's like, look, I have 18 Grand Prix top 8s. 9 of them are in limited. And he's like, I'm obviously not a weak limited player, but I need to play test for limited. And in that span of the late 2000s, like 2009, 2010, 2011, I just didn't get a chance to play test as much. And my results suffered, and I didn't have the same kind of tournament finishes that I would have had I been able to put in that work. He's like, now that I'm with Harayuya, I actually play test a lot. I have really great quality of play testing, and my results have shown that. And you're seeing me get those overall finishes that I've always thought I should have. He's like, for constructed, I don't need to play test. He's like, I don't need any practice for constructed.
Wow. Well, Shota Yasuoka is doing tremendously well. He has one more round of draft to navigate. He's at 6-3 right now. He is going to be our main match here in the final round of draft on day 2 of the World Championship. He's up against Oliver too, another player doing tremendously well, 5-3-1. Oliver has won his first 2 matches today. So why don't we take a look at the pod scoreboards, because remember, we're playing in groups of 8. So Ian, here's our top pod right now. Márcio Carvalho, of course, leads the way.
Yeah, he's just been having a fantastic weekend, especially in limited. We got to see him draft earlier today. Go back and watch it, check it out if you didn't get a chance. And he's just been doing fantastic.
So 7-2 is BBD. Heading down now, BDM, you know Mike Sigrist well. He's at 5-4. He was at 5-0. Wow. The losing has to stop.
Absolutely. He does not have any more losses to give. He needs to finish this pod out strong, and then he's going to need to hope the modern deck that he took to this tournament is not only the right weapon, but is ready to fight against the other decks that people have brought here.
Well, the players are ready for the last round of draft. Can Márcio Carvalho, the pace setter, make a historic run in limited? We're going to find out. Yasuoka against 2 gets us underway. It's time for round 10 of World Championship action. Here we go.